we are living ISO 22458 every day, so we put our customers at the heart of everything we do. We're a really caring and responsible supplier, so this just comes naturally to us, but it gives us that extra external challenge because we know we're going to get assessed on it every single year. But we're just delighted to have been recognised for looking after the most vulnerable in Northern Ireland.
You are listening to Inclusive Service Kitemark, a series from The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards.
Yeah, we are really chuffed to have our certificate now in our hands, but last week we all celebrated. We actually brought a pick and mix sweet shop on tour around all our offices. We only have 3, but there's no 2 customers are the same, so no 2 pick and mix are the same, so all of our staff got to celebrate by having a bag of sweets.
Hello, this is Matthew Childs and welcome to Inclusive Service Kitemark, a series from The Standard Show, a series which showcases the experiences of organisations who have achieved this particular kite mark. Now, we can all become vulnerable at any time. This can be through disability, ill health, financial hardship, or life events such as relationship breakdown. But with the right practices in place, being in a vulnerable situation doesn't mean it has to be more difficult to make smart and informed choices. So, to help consumers have confidence in services when they need them most, and to allow organisations to demonstrate their best inclusive service practices, BSI created the Inclusive Service Kitemark scheme. The scheme combines the best practice from the international standard ISO 22458 for consumer vulnerability and the requirements of some of the UK's leading regulatory bodies. It's all about helping organisations to do the right thing when it comes to inclusive service. The BSI Kitemark itself has been informing the decision-making of consumers and organisations for over 100 years. It's recognised as a symbol of quality, safety and trust. Kitemark certification means that a claim about a product or a service has been independently and repeatedly tested by experts. In this series, you'll hear organisations describe some of the improvements they made to the way they do things to achieve the Inclusive Service Kitemark, what achieving the Kitemark has meant to them in terms of delivering positive outcomes for consumers, and the advice they would give to other organisations looking to start their own journeys to achieve this Kitemark. This episode of the series is about the experiences of Power NI, Northern Ireland's largest electricity supplier, energising over 500,000 homes and organisations for almost 90 years. And the voice you heard at the top of the episode was that of Power NI's CSR manager, Gwyneth Compston, speaking to me at an event celebrating Power NI as one of the first organisations to achieve the Inclusive Service Kitemark, all about Power NI's motivations for wanting to achieve it, and also the particular way in which they celebrated. Before we hear more from Gwyneth, a reminder that you can subscribe to The Standard Show wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find and follow us on social media too. All of the details are in the show notes. And the show notes is also where you can find links to more information about the Kitemark and other content featured in this episode. So, after the Kitemark celebration event, I caught up with Gwyneth again, and we started with that pick and mix. So Gwyneth, last time we spoke, we talked about celebrating the Kitemark, and we spoke about pick and mix. How well did that go down?
Oh, pick and mix is always a favourite, isn't it? We had to take the chance to celebrate our achievement with all of our staff because realistically all of our staff is what makes Power NI great. So we decided to take a local pick and mix shop on tour to each of our offices. So no 2 pick and mix are the same and no 2 customers are the same. So everybody got a bag of sweets, and even if you work in our virtual teams and work at home full time, you got a bag of sweets posted to your house. So everybody got a chance to have some sweets.
That's amazing. I've got to ask you then, what's your go-to pick and mix?
Well, I do love vampire teeth.
Vampire teeth. Okay, I'm more of a. You remember the little white mice? I used to go for those.
Oh, the chocolate mice.
Yeah, chocolate mice. Yeah, I used to love.
We did have those. They were one of the options you could have actually. So there was fudge, there was all the fizzy sweets, all the usual favourites. So yeah, it was really good. There was a lovely buzz around the office today that we had the pick and mix in.
Well, I think it's very, very important to celebrate success. Now, here to talk about the Kitemark scheme, and obviously that's what you were celebrating here. So, because I wanted to take us back to the scheme actually, and sort of how easy did you find following the Kitemark scheme and sort of assessing it against your organisation's processes?
Yeah, so we are the Northern Ireland's largest electricity supplier, and we've been around an awful long time. We've been around for 90 years. So looking after our customers and keeping our customers at the centre of everything we do is what we're good at. So we're well known as being, leading the way in consumer protection and looking after the most vulnerable. So initially we went for BS 18477, and then when it transitioned to ISO 22458, we didn't find it easy because no assessment or standard of that level should be easy, but we didn't find it overly difficult to work towards what they were expecting of us. So, we had to make a few tweaks, a few changes, formalise a few policies and procedures, but overall, the ethos of the ISO standard met with ours very well.
Maybe you could drill down into that in terms of those improvements. I mean, standards are all about, standards and Kitemarks are all about doing things better. So maybe you could pick out, talk about pick and mix, maybe pick 3 improvements that you made to help achieve the Kitemark.
Yeah, we put a huge focus on our staff training. Our staff are talking to very vulnerable customers right now, and people who are vulnerable maybe for the first time, particularly with the cost of living crisis. So we put a real emphasis on staff training and making sure all of our staff were trained in the right areas. That's probably the biggest one that we made. We also took the chance to refresh and improve some of our policies as well. So that was really positive from our perspective because it gave us a real framework to work to with those policy changes. And then the third thing was probably just our communication with the wider community around Northern Ireland. We're really well established and in our community, but we took the chance to make some new connections and to identify some new partners to work alongside who were able to give us feedback, help us with co-creation of some of those new policies and some website refresh, and particularly from signposting perspective as well.
Now, you talked there about those improvements and things you were doing differently. I just wonder from a sort of a cultural perspective, how was achieving the Kitemark, this particular Kitemark, how has it brought you the confidence really that you're achieving these positive outcomes for customers?
Yeah, it was really reassuring for us as a business to be recognised externally with such an important standard, and it gave us reassurance from a staff perspective, a business perspective, and then also from our customers' point of view. So our customers are very well versed in the Kitemark. So seeing that now appearing on our website and our customer communications, it really does give that badge of confidence.
I just wonder also, Gwyneth, how important was it for you to be one of the first organisations to go through this?
Really important. We do set ourselves apart from other companies, and being in that first 9 really was important to us. We are a relatively small company, even though we're the largest supplier in Northern Ireland. We always try our best just to do the right thing for our customers. But being now one of the first 9 in the world to have achieved something as significant as ISO 22458, it's brilliant.
As a final thought then, what advice would you give to other organisations looking to start their own journeys to achieve this particular Kitemark?
I would say do it, and do it as soon as you feel like you're ready to do it. We really are enjoying actually the process of working towards our assessments each year. We're continually pushing ourselves and pushing the boundaries of what is possible. It gives you a really good framework and a really good structure, particularly if you have that desire to look after the most vulnerable and to be as inclusive as possible. So I would encourage any company to do it.
You have been listening to Inclusive Service Kitemark, a series from The Standard Show. Subscribe to The Standard Show now, wherever you get your podcasts.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.